Hi, this is Mark Williams, Circle of the Dark Mother. Today we're going to talk about Lilith and the Garden of Eden and the land of Nod. So who is Lilith? Lilith is first mentioned in ancient Sumerian texts, including the Epic of Gilgamesh. She is described as a goddess and a demon in Mesopotamia. And these two are not mutually exclusive in Sumeria, Babylon, and Assyria. In those traditions, in those cultures, goddesses or gods sort of did what was expected. They went by a rule, and they were deities. Well, a god or goddess that's also a demon, and there were more than just Lilith, also do their own thing. They don't always go by what's expected. Lilith then appears in Jewish religious texts, primarily the Midrash, which are extra biblical texts that flesh out the narratives found in Jewish scripture. Lilith is called a demon, the first wife of Adam, the sometimes consort of God Most High, and the partner of Adam Kadmon, the highest universe where everything is unified, that is a template for a perfect human being. So she is the consort to a perfect, enlightened universe in those stories. How is Lilith Adam's first wife? In Genesis 1:27, it says, God created male and female in the image of God. So Elohim created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. But in Genesis 2:7 through 2:22, it says God created Adam and then created Eve by removing a rib from his side. Then Yahweh formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And the man became a living being. In Genesis 2:22, then he, Yahweh, made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. So a couple things here. Elohim is a name of God that is used in Judaism and Kabbalah. That means it's a masculine singular name, El, which means God, and is actually the name of a god in Canaanite tradition. And then Ohim is a feminine plural. So Elohim could mean gods and goddesses, but probably with monotheistic Judaism means one god with multiple male and female personalities. The second set in Genesis 2 uses the divine name Yahweh. Yahweh means he who was, is, and shall be, and is always seen as a masculine figure. So it's interesting that there's a more feminine one that creates man and woman in their image. And then in Genesis 2, this masculine form creates man. He's alone. The rib thing is a translation. It's actually taken from that Eve is taken from Adam's side, not from his rib. But you can get where the Jewish rabbis start to go, well, in Genesis 1, there's a man and a woman created at the same time. But then in Genesis 2, it seems like the woman's missing. What happened? So they created a bunch of stories about this. Lilith's name in Hebrew. Hebrew, unlike English, is a multi-dimensional language. In English, each letter is simply a sound. In Hebrew, each letter is a sound and a number and has a meaning. And with the idea of a number, it's not like English numerology where you assign a 1 to A and a 2 to B. In ancient Hebrew, there actually are no numbers. The letters are a number. So if you wanted to write the number 1 or use the sound of the letter Aleph would be the one you would use for both a word and a number. Lilith's name is composed of the letters Lamed, Yod, Tav, but written right to left. And when you look at the graphic at the bottom, that is her name written. The squiggly is the Lamed, the little tick is Yod, and the thing that looks like a house is the Tav. Lamed means ox goad, Yod means spirit of divinity, and Tav means unification. It means mark, but that's a very specific meaning, and a little more fleshed out meaning is unification. So ox goad can be thought of something that drives, you or a beast or whatever. Yod is the spirit of divinity. And then, as I said, Tav is unification. So Lilith's name literally means that which drives you to deity twice, meaning it's emphasizing, and ends in unification. This explains her purpose in Jewish lore as a force that pushes us on our path to enlightenment. Lilith's myth. Lilith is created at the same time as Adam in the Garden of Eden, but Adam tries to dominate her. She gets angry knowing she is equal to Adam, speaks the secret name of God, and flies off. In some legends, she flies to the Red Sea, and to others, the land of Nod. God sends 3 angels to bring her back. She refuses. The angels threaten to destroy her. She tells them that she is critical to creation and can't be destroyed. They end up making a deal that they will destroy some of her children, but not all, and she cannot harm any human children protected by the names of the angels. This led to babies being protected by, an amulet that had the names of the angels. The myths go on to pair her with demonic beings and also with God Most High. The demonic meanings are Samiel, Ashmedai, and others. She's a complicated figure because she begins as a human soul, is considered a demon, but also is seen as necessary and connected to the Judaic God as his consort when his normal consort is away. Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is described as a paradise where Adam and Lilith, later to be replaced by Eve, were created and lived. In Jewish tradition, Lilith speaks the secret name of God and flies out of Eden. Adam and Eve, on the other hand, are cast out of Eden when they disobey Yahweh's command. In Midrash, Eden is said to be located in the first heaven, which is a paradisical world in which all life on earth that has or will exist lives in a spiritual form without strife or violence. In Jewish mysticism, there are 7 heavens that correspond to the 7 lowest spheres or sephirot, spheres of light, in the tree of life. These are not permanent locations of eternal reward, but instead spiritual realms that souls enter and leave once they have experienced what they need to from the realm. The Hebrew word for Eden is composed of the letters Ayin, foundation, Dalet, door, and Nun, incarnated soul. And if you look below, that is the word Nod in Hebrew, again from right to left. So the Y is the Ayin, the little T is Dalet, and the bend is Nun. These letters point to the function of Eden as a place where the foundation of a soul passes through the door into incarnation. This is what we see with Adam and Eve being cast out and forced to wear animal skins or human bodies because they go from a heaven, a spiritual realm, into a physical realm where they manifest physically. Land of Nod. The land of Nod is described as dark and barren land that is in eternal dusk. It is inhabited by all the dark and hostile creatures of the world that have ever or will ever exist. In Lilith's myth, she calls the secret name of God and flies out of Eden and into the land of Nod. And as I said, in some myths, it is the Red Sea, which the Red Sea, because it blooms with algae in a red color certain times a year, is sometimes equated with women's menstruation. And that also then equates it with being impure, which ties it back to Nod. In Midrash, Nod is said to be located in the first hell and described as an apocalyptic nightmare. In Jewish mysticism, there are 7 hells that correspond to the 7 lowest spheres of the Qliphoth in the Tree of Shadows. Qliphoth is husks of darkness. These are not permanent locations of eternal punishment, but instead spiritual realms that souls enter and leave once they have experienced what they need to from their realm. The Hebrew word for Nod is composed of the letters Nun, incarnate soul, Vav, hook, and Dalet, door. The word below is the Hebrew word for Nod. It is spelled again from the right to left. So the backward C is Nun, the little bent one is Vav, and the T-shaped one is Dalet. Now there is a little point under the Vav, and this is a vowel point. Ancient Hebrew did not have vowel points. That meant you had to figure out the vowels on your own, and it was all contextual. Modern Hebrew has vowel points so you can pronounce it easier. So it would not have a vowel point in ancient Hebrew scripture. But this is the only one version I could find, so this is what I used. These letters point to the function of Nod as a place where the incarnate soul is connected to the door. This door is the gate between life and death, between all the universes, and to higher consciousness. Nod transforms the soul into something more, which has the power to go where it wants through all spiritual realms because it is no longer human. Lilith, from Eden to Nod. Mythologically, Lilith is created in the Garden of Eden as a human soul and the partner of Adam. Now, not physically created, but created as a human soul. Eden prepares Lilith for incarnation. When Lilith's anger gives her self-awareness and she chooses to leave Eden, unlike Adam and Eve, who are forced out, at the point she flees Eden, she is an individual human soul. That happens to Adam and Eve when they eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil and then are cast out. Instead of choosing physical incarnation, Lilith travels to the land of Nod, where she transforms herself into divinity. She becomes a being who can create and destroy. Her dialogue with the angels, where she knows that she is crucial to creation, shows that she has transcended her humanity and she understands her true worth. This mythologic tale explains how she can be a goddess, a demon, the first wife of Adam, the consort of God Most High, and the partner of the primordial template for mankind. She evolves as a soul, bringing both light the heavens and dark the hells into herself, becoming way more than her ex-husband and his second wife ever could be, short of them incarnating over and over again until they finally figure it out, which is all of our stories. So Lilith bypassed the whole eating of the knowledge or the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, because she didn't need it. She was able to make herself self-actualized, and she was able to then leave and transform. Hopefully you found this interesting. Again, this is my opinion. This is my research looking into Hebrew, into Kabbalah, into Gnosticism, and all the mythology, and my experience working with her. If you disagree with any of this, that's totally cool. If you don't see her as any of these things, a goddess, the first wife, a demon, consort of God Most High, which is mentioned in myth, you don't have to believe any of those things. I also want to make a comment about any of the pictures I use. The pictures are representations of different personalities of her, and not meant to be, she looked like this. These are just all representations of powerful spiritual women, and it gives an insight into who she is at different points. So you will see her of different races, different colors, various guises based on what personality I'm going for, because I'm not seeing her as a human physical being. I do believe she went through many, many different cultures, and so her imagery changed, and so she appears as we need her to, and within whatever visual fits whatever period of mythology and history she is trying to accomplish, based on how she's interacting with you. So you may even see her dozens of different ways every time you encounter her. In fact, I've seen her morph from different forms over and over during a meditation. So again, whatever you believe, totally cool. What I'm saying is my view and something to give you ideas. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, click like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. I'll post more.